Hi, this is Stephanie Robin with APNPI, and I'm here today with Bryan Caporicci from Sprout Studio. Hi, Bryan.
Hi, Steph. How are you?
Good, thanks. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well.
So today we're going to be talking a little bit about client experience or client design, a topic that I think is near and dear to you.
Definitely, yeah. It's something that is so important in today's business world, especially just, as the way that we buy as consumers, whether we're in photography or whether we're buying photography or buying something completely unrelated to photography, the way that we buy has completely changed. And so photographers have to start thinking differently about how they communicate their value to their clients and what they're actually promoting, they're selling to their clients.
Absolutely. So I was going to ask, why is it so important? But I think you're kind of already delving into that a little.
As usual, I'm getting ahead of myself, yes. But I'll give you the sort of quick background on it, the sort of like a 2-minute history lesson, because I think it's really important to understand why we are where we are today. And a big part of it has to do with the fact that we have come a long way as photographers. You know, we have come from back and I sort of coined these eras in photography to say that we used to differentiate what we do as photographers because we had the availability to actually make the pictures, right? Back in the film days, we were the technicians. We knew how to use the equipment. So therefore, if you wanted to be a photographer, all you had to do was know how to use the equipment and have the access to the equipment, and you could be a photographer. Well, then from there, we transitioned into 35 millimeter and everyone could take pictures. And so then all of a sudden, what we had to kind of hang our hats on was the fact that we had better pictures. We could take better pictures. We could have better quality products. So it was all about quality. And then from there, as kind of quality came up and you can get decent books from Costco and Blacks and you can get decent prints now, we kind of moved into what I call the service era, which is where we had to all of a sudden say, well, it's not about the piece of paper that you're buying. It's about the work that goes into the piece of paper. And so then all of a sudden our differentiator was us, the personality, the service, the work that goes into the product. I think that now, and not just I think, there's evidence and proof all over the place, and there's residue in every industry to say that that no longer is enough to differentiate what we do as photographers. We have to start thinking about creating experiences for clients, and that's why we're now in what I call the experience industry, or the experience era, because there's more photographers than there have ever been before. So we're competing in a whole new area. But more importantly, people are enjoying photography less and less in comparison to how we used to enjoy photography. And I could, kind of have a moan fest here about, kids these days with Instagram and their Snapchat culture and blah, blah, blah. But you know what? That's just the reality of it. We value photography differently than we once did. And so we as an industry have to change with that. We have to shift with it. Because if we don't, if we kind of keep our feet, planted in the ground and try and say it's all about this and you have to hire a professional photographer to take good quality pictures. Like we're going to go the same way as Blockbuster. We're going to go the same way as, the traditional disc, for selling music. All these industries have changed because the cultural norms, society demanded the change. Well, I think that that's where we are at today with photography. Society is demanding a change and we have to shift with it. So that kind of long-winded kind of history lesson to answer your question, that is why we have to be selling experiences for our clients. We have to be creating, we have to be crafting, we have to be designing experiences. And that is what our clients will pay for. Oh, and by the way, we'll take pictures as proof of the experience, and that is what people have to remember the experience from.
Yeah, it's funny. I think, there's that saying that if you have a great experience, you'll tell one person, and if you have a not so great experience, you'll tell 10, right?
Totally.
So
Yep.
I think
Totally.
you have to do even more nowadays, especially since a lot of the time in our industry, we're resting on that referral as part of our marketing.
Yep.
I noticed a lot of what you were talking about was movement in technology and moving technology forward, and that's actually what's driving a lot of the change in the industry. Do you think that it's important to proceed with that client experience on both online and in person? Do you think there's an online component that we need to kind of tap into prior to our interaction with our clients?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we need to start looking at the experience that we create for our customers in a much more holistic way, you know, and when I say holistic, we have to stop thinking of it as being in chunks of like, okay, I do this online, I do this in person, and for a meeting, I do this. And it needs to be a fluid experience. And that's why a lot of the times when I teach and talk on customer experience design, I use this terminology called customer journey mapping. And what customer journey mapping is, sort of like in a nutshell, is to take the entire customer experience and say from the moment that a client starts even thinking about wanting a photographer up until the point that they're like raving fans or telling all their friends and family, their loyal repeat customers, that entire journey needs to be mapped out and thought of very intentionally. And you need to be designing touch points along the way. You have to be designing milestones and understanding the nuances as of how does a client go through that journey. After they book you, how are they feeling? What are they thinking? What are they doing? How can you be creating an experience that serves that before their session? What are they thinking? What are they feeling? What are they doing? And how can we be creating an experience that serves that either gives them what they're looking for, answers the questions that you might predict they have, or that elevates the experience, or turns a negative part of the experience upside down and elevates it and turns it into a positive experience. So it's way more holistic in the sense that we've got to be looking at everything as this like fluid path, kind of from start to finish.
Fantastic. Well, that's part one. Please join us again. We're going to be doing parts 2 and 3 to this client experience design with Bryan. And you can catch us tomorrow for part 2.